Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I'm your host, Nick. Today, you're listening to episode 65 of Talking Blue. We are going to recap Game 2 of the National League Division Series, where the Dodgers took Game 2, and they take a 2-0 commanding lead in the series. So they go back to LA, up 2 games. That is absolutely massive, of course. My dog Gracie is here in the back to join us. She's excited as always. So let's waste no time. Let's get into it. We're going to recap the game, recap a lot of the big decisions, the guys who pitched, the guys who came up big in that 7th inning. The Dodgers won by a score of 4-3. So we're going to do that, all of that stuff. So as always, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick on X. Post a ton of breakdowns. Just posted one about Blake Snell and how he pitched in Game 2, and also about the last 2 times he has pitched against the Phillies, and about some other guys, Emmett Sheehan, Tyler Glasnow, all that kind of stuff. So if you like that, go over to Talking Blue Nick on X, and you can follow us on Reddit at competitive-week8715 to get onto the conversation on there. I'm going to run through the game for all of you guys who may have not watched the game, although, like I said in the last pod, I doubt that there are any people who didn't watch the game or didn't know what happened. But I'm going to run through the game. Then I'm going to just talk about all the kind of stuff that went through the game, decisions, pitchers, offense, lineup, all that kind of stuff. So, Game 2 of the National League Division Series was, of course, Blake Snell taking on Jesus Luzardo, a couple of left-handers, a couple of electric left-handers. And early on in the game, there was not a lot of offense. In fact, through the first 6 innings, the game would remain scoreless. Blake Snell and Jesus Luzardo were matching each other pitch for pitch. They get through both of their respected 6 innings without allowing any runs. So we will fast forward all the way to the top of the 7th inning. Jesus Luzardo goes out for the 7th inning. He has about 90 pitches, probably going to be his last inning. But the Dodgers just got out of a big inning. Blake Snell pitched out of some traffic. So Teoscar Hernandez is leading off. Top of the 7th, he singles into center field to start off the inning. Then Freddie Freeman doubles into right field, a little soft line drive that allows Teoscar to go to third and Freddie Freeman get into second with a double. So right away, second and third, nobody out. Dodgers are prime position to score. So the Phillies go to a pitching change. They bring in Orion Kerkering to face Tommy Edman, who is now hitting from the left side. So Tommy Edman actually strikes out. So now it is 1 out, second and third. Kike Hernandez comes up, the perfect guy to have at the plate. I think that most people would agree with that. He hits a little weak infield grounder to the shortstop Trey Turner, who comes in on the run. Teoscar breaks for home plate, and he slides in safely. The throw is just on the first base side of home plate, so he just barely beat the tag. They went to review, but you could tell he was clearly safe. Just got in there. Some aggressive base running from Teoscar Hernandez puts the Dodgers up 1-0. Then a pinch hitter, Max Muncy, comes in to pinch hit for Miguel Rojas. He pinch hits. He walks, so Kike goes to second. And then we have Max Muncy at first. And we have the bases loaded. Freddie Freeman is at third base. Andy Paz comes up with 1 out. He pops up. So a kind of a bad at-bat by Andy Paz. It's a tough at-bat for him because Kerkering is nasty. But now it is bases loaded, 1 out. Will Smith comes up, who is now in the game. He did not start the game. He pinch hit for Ben Rortvedt. Earlier in the game, Kerkering throws a first pitch slider, and Will Smith singles into left field, a nice soft line drive to put the Dodgers up 3-0. A big hit. Will Smith was one of the best hitters with runners in scoring position all year, not just for the Dodgers, but for in all of baseball. Then the Phillies go to another pitching change. Matt Strahm comes in to face Shohei because, of course, Will Smith was in the 9 spot for Rortvet. And with a runner on base, Shohei singles up the middle. Max Muncy comes in to score, and the Dodgers go up 4-0. So 4 runs for the Dodgers in the 7th. We go ahead to the bottom of the 7th, where now Blake Snell comes out of the game. Max Muncy is in the game and third base, and Kiki goes out to left. Emmett Sheehan comes in to replace Blake Snell. So the second time we see Sheehan come out of relief in this postseason. Jay Turamuto comes up. He grounds out to Mookie Betts. Nick Castellanos flies out, and then Bryson Stott grounds out. So clean 8th inning for Emmett Sheehan. To the bottom of the 8th inning, Sheehan stays in the game. He gets another fly out from Brandon Marsh, but then this is where the Phillies get on the board for the first time. Max Kepler comes up. He was pinch hitting for Otto Kemp, triples into right field. So another good at-bat for him, kind of a similar at-bat that he had in the previous game against Roki Sasaki. Then Trey Turner comes up. He gets his first hit of the series. He singles into center field. So now it is a 4-1 game. Emmett Sheehan does make some good pitches after this, though. Dave Roberts stuck with him to face the next 2 hitters, the 2 best hitters in the Phillies lineup. 2 left-handers, actually, with Vesia in the pen. He strikes out Kyle Schwarber, and then he gets Bryce Harper to fly out. So he gets out of that inning. We go ahead to the bottom of the 9th. It is still a 4-1 game. This is one of the big decisions in the game. Roki Sasaki is not coming in for the save. It is Blake Trinan. Alec Boehm is leading off. He singles into center field. Jay Turamuto comes up next. He doubles into left field. So it's now 2nd and 3rd, looking pretty disastrous. Castellanos comes up on a 2-strike slider. He hooks the ball into left field and gets to second base, drives in 2 runs. So just like that, it is second. It is a runner on second, and it's a 1-run game, and there are no outs. So things are looking pretty disastrous. Dave Roberts brings in Alex Vesia to face left-handed hitter Bryson Stott, who came into the game earlier. He goes ahead and sack bunts, or attempts to sack bunt, but incredible play. They have the wheel play on, which means Mookie Betts goes from his shortstop position, runs to third base. Muncy crashes, fields the bunt, throws to third, gets Castellanos the lead runner. 1 out, a really incredible play. Then Harrison Bader pinch hits, and he singles into left field. Alex Vesia is still on the mound. Max Kepler comes in, so now the Dodgers do have a favorable matchup. He grounds out to first base. Freddie Freeman makes the play and gets the force at second. So it is 1st and 3rd with 2 outs. The tying run is on 3rd. The winning run is on 1st. We have Trey Turner coming up. The Dodgers make their 2nd pitching change of the inning. They now bring in Roki Sasaki to get 1 out to close out the game. He gets Trey Turner on the 2nd pitch to ground out to Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman throws the ball in the dirt, but Freddie Freeman makes an incredible pick for the 3rd out and the final out of the game. The Dodgers hang on. Roki Sasaki gets the save. Blake Snell gets the win. The Dodgers win Game 2 of the NLDS 4-3. A pretty wild game. It actually was a pretty similar game to the first game. We're going to break down all of that stuff. We're going to break down some of those decisions. But first, we're going to start with Blake Snell. So just like I did last game, a couple of the pregame stuff. In the first game, Harrison Bader was injured, so he does not get to start in this game. So that comes into effect later in the game when he pinch hits, but then he gets a single off of Vesia and immediately has to come out of the game. So that meant that Brandon Marsh had to face some lefties. Max Kepler had to face some lefties. Bryson Stott. So that injury kind of benefited the Dodgers, that the Phillies later in the game were not able to have many favorable moves in terms of facing a lefty with a righty and that kind of stuff. They obviously were able to use Bader later in the game, and it helped them that he got a single, but all the kind of cause and effect of all that meant that Stott had to face a lefty, Max Kepler had to face a lefty, so all that stuff. That was really the only pregame stuff. And then Will Smith did not get to start in this game like I thought he would. He does come in after, I think, Rortvet had 1 at-bat and struck out, and then Will Smith came in again, just like he did in Game 1. So I would imagine that he starts in Game 3, but we'll see about that. So Blake Snell, 6 innings pitched, 1 hit allowed, 0 earned runs, 4 walks, 9 strikeouts. He had 23 whiffs in the game. A ton of whiffs. That is up there with close to his season high for this season. He's now made 2 starts for the Dodgers. He's been incredible. So I just wanted to talk about him. Obviously, he matched Luzardo pitch for pitch. I thought throughout the game he was pitching better than Luzardo. So the way the game started out, obviously, Jesus Luzardo was on the mound. The Dodgers were able to get some base runners in the first inning. I knew Luzardo. I told you guys at the end of my last pod, Luzardo was going to be a tough matchup. I kind of said to you guys that I expected Game 2 to be similar to Game 1 in that it would be a tough pitching matchup for the Dodgers. I thought that they were going to have some strikeouts, but ultimately I thought the key to the game was would they be able to get some base runners at some point in the game, and then would they be able to cash in? That's exactly what happened, to be honest. Luzardo was cruising for most of the game, and then in the 7th inning they were able to get some base runners on with nobody out, and then they were able to cash in with 2 outs. In the first inning, Shohei struck out again, but Mookie Betts single and then a Teoscar Hernandez walk had the Dodgers first and second with 1 out to start the game. Freddie Freeman lined out to right field. He absolutely crushed the ball, hit it right at Castellanos for the 2nd out. And then Tommy Edman ground out. So after that first inning, I was thinking to myself, some pretty good at-bats for the Dodgers. They had some good swings against Luzardo. I wasn't fazed. I thought, all right, I think that they can put some pressure on Luzardo. But then after that, Luzardo, I believe, retired 11 straight. After that, it was a lot of 1, 2, 3 innings. 2nd inning, 3rd inning, 4th inning, 5th inning, a lot of quick innings. When he got through 5 innings and then ultimately got through 6 innings, I think he only had like 80-something pitches. So, and even though the Phillies had some people in the pen in the 6th inning, they sent him back out there in the 7th, which I thought was the right move. Maybe they could have gone to the pen quicker with the top of the lineup looming for the Dodgers in the 7th inning. But he had looked really good, and the Phillies don't have the greatest pen. So I think that was, that's what I would have done. I would have stuck with Luzardo. So Blake Snell, the only big inning that the Phillies really had against him was in that 6th inning. Like I said, they only had 1 hit against Snell. That came in the 5th inning, and Mundo Sosa, he singled into center field. That was their first hit against him. Other than that, Snell was just racking up the whiffs, the strikeouts, mixing up his pitches. He actually was going to the slider a lot more. In the 6th inning, though, Blake Snell entered that inning with about 80-something pitches. So if he was quick, then he probably could have gone back out for the 7th. But Otto Kemp ended up striking out to start off that inning. But then a Trey Turner walk and then a stolen base had the go-ahead run on second base with no outs. So Blake Snell really needed to empty the tank here. He ends up walking Kyle Schwarber. So Bryce Harper is coming up in the bottom of the 6th with 1 out. And obviously the go-ahead run is in scoring position. So credit to Blake Snell. I put this out on my X. He really had to empty the tank to get out of this inning. He strikes out Bryce Harper on a couple of nasty sliders, and then he gets Alec Bohm to ground out. Miguel Rojas fielded the ball at third base and actually decided to go to third, ended up diving on the bag to beat Trey Turner to the bag. What's kind of funny, Miguel Rojas, I kind of defend him a lot. Miguel Rojas, for whatever reason, gets a lot of flack from Dodger fans. And one of the jokes about Rojas is that he kind of always tries to play hero ball. He kind of tries to be the hero. And it's just funny because that was kind of a perfect example. He fielded the ground ball, could have just threw the ball to second, threw the ball to first, and then he kind of had the harder/easier decision. It's obviously easier to tag the bag instead of make a throw to a base. But he had Trey Turner on second, who's one of the fastest runners, and it was a bang-bang play. He had to actually dive on the bag, and it looked like he came up injured. I wouldn't be shocked if he's not in the lineup on Wednesday. It looks like he collided with Turner, and I thought maybe he would have hurt his shoulder, but he actually looked like he came up limping. And I think Rojas has had groin issues in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised if he aggravated his groin. So it's just kind of funny that Rojas has that reputation with the fans, and he kind of did do the hero thing. Anyways, it was a pretty nice play. Credit to Blake Snell because he emptied the tank to get out of this inning. And I've talked about it before, how in the past Blake Snell, when I was getting ready to watch Blake Snell this year in a Dodger uniform, I kind of knew the way he had pitched in the past. It was a very unique style. He doesn't necessarily attack the zone a lot. He relies on a lot of chase. He will walk a lot of hitters. And a lot of the reason that he's able to do that and be successful is because he's one of the best pitchers ever with runners in scoring position, and he also has the highest K per 9 of all time. So when you have runners on base, but you're able to get whiffs and strikeouts, you're able to pitch out of that. One thing I have learned about Blake Snell since watching him really the last 2 to 3 months, since he's come back in August, is how smart of a pitcher he is. He really is a smart pitcher. It's not just that he has electric stuff. It's not just that he is a pitcher that can get strikeouts and kind of just relies on that to get out of innings. He really is a smart pitcher. He has 4 really good pitches. I know that the numbers on his 4-seam fastball weren't great this year. There was a lot of not necessarily damage, but he had a high batting average against on that pitch. But his slider, his curveball, and his changeup were absolutely filthy, especially the curveball and the changeup. The slider was the 4th least used pitch of the 4 pitches that he threw this year. And he really upped the usage on that pitch in this start. He threw 26 sliders. I think that's the most sliders he's thrown in a start this year. That was the 2nd most used pitch that he threw, and it led to 9 whiffs. He got a ton of whiffs against guys like Schwarber and Harper, which is obviously massive because they're 2 of the best lefties in the game. But throughout the regular season, Blake Snell didn't throw that pitch a ton to right-handed hitters, and he actually did that a lot in this start, and he even did that a little bit against the Reds. Threw a couple of good ones to Otto Kemp, Trey Turner. I believe he also threw some to Castellanos and to J.T. Realmuto. So, and then obviously, watching Blake Snell, he uses that changeup a lot. I talked about when he pitched against the Reds how he used his changeup and he really really mixed up the velocity on that pitch. Sometimes the changeup would be in the low 80s, sometimes in the high 80s. He really is a true pitcher, and it's just funny because you would have not really thought that about Blake Snell before he came to the Dodgers, because he had the reputation of a guy who walks a lot of hitters and gets a lot of strikeouts, which he does do both of those things. But really getting to know him and getting to see him pitch these last 2 months, August, September, and now October, these last 2.5, 3 months, he is a real pitcher. And there's so many times throughout the game where, in this game he had his best command that he's probably had all year. He was just pounding the strike zone, getting ahead a lot. But even when he's behind in the count, there was a couple at-bats to Alec Bohm where he fell behind in the count, and it's just a perfect, from the hitter's perspective, a perfect count to get a heater, so you're amped up for that. And he just throws a perfectly placed changeup down and away to a hitter, just right over the barrel to get a swing and a miss and to keep himself in the at-bat. And he's just a really, really smart pitcher who kind of, when he's at his best like this in terms of throwing strikes, when he combines that with his cerebralness and his elite ability to miss the barrel, get whiffs, when you combine that with throwing strikes and the way that he's able to manipulate the ball away from the barrel, not just to not get hit hard and not give up hits, but also get strikeouts, it becomes a super dominant performance like he's had in this postseason so far, and in this game where he literally only gave up 1 hit, which was like a broken bat blooper into center field. He was just filthy, dominant, elite, cerebral, smart. There's so many words to describe this pitching performance, and really just the way he is overall. That's something I've learned about him, is he is a really, really smart pitcher who's not afraid, and he's really confident, and he knows he's good, and he's just got the perfect pitches to go against every hitter. He'll use the changeup and the fastball against righties, and against lefties he'll use the breaking balls, and he is, in this loaded pitching staff, he could be the Dodgers' ace. It's hard to pick because they have a lot of really good guys, but just incredible. It was just a clinic of how to dominate a really good lineup and how to just navigate through it. And then, even when he had to lock in that 6th inning and make the perfect pitches against the Phillies' best hitters, he just did that perfectly. So all the credit in the world to Blake Snell. They would have not won that game without him, obviously. So then from there, we'll go to the final guys who closed out this game, just like we did in Game 1. Sheehan, Trinan, Vesia, and then Sasaki. So, of course, after Blake Snell comes out, he gets through that 6th inning. Top of the 7th comes up. The Dodgers score those 4 runs. We'll get into that. Emmett Sheehan comes in. So it's the first time we see Sheehan since the wild card series where he kind of struggled to throw strikes. I've been talking about not all year, but definitely since September came around and it looked clear what the Dodgers' pitching plans and rotation was going to be. I've been preaching that Sheehan was probably going to be a big weapon for them. And this was the first time we get to see him really relish in that role. He did give up a run, but I don't think it's the box score is really doesn't. I don't think it tells the whole picture. He got 2 innings. He completed 2 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and he had a strikeout. He had 4 whiffs in the game. The stuff was playing up, so he was averaging 96.6 on his four-seam fastball, topped out at 98.3. We know Emmett Sheehan has pretty good induced vertical break numbers. I've talked about that before. That is when it is a way to measure how much added spin the pitcher puts on the ball. Alex Vesia is the best in the game at this. Of course, because of gravity, you always hear guys who have really good fastballs. The opponent hitters like to say that their four-seam appears to rise, which of course it doesn't actually rise because of gravity. That's not possible. But what it does, what induced vertical break does tell you is how much the ball doesn't drop. So how much the ball really stays on plane. Emmett Sheehan has a really good fastball when it comes to that, metric as well. He was averaging 20 inches of induced vertical break in that inning, or in the 2 innings, which is pretty nasty because I believe Vesia leads the entire sport with 22 inches, something like that. Maxed out at 22 inches in this game. Electric stuff. And again, credit to Dave Roberts. He's been doing it all postseason so far, and early on in this postseason, he brought in Sheehan in the 7th inning. He got a quick 1-2-3 inning, but then in the bottom of the 8th inning, he did get the first out, so he retires the first 4 hitters that he faced, but then quickly gave up a triple to Max Kepler, kind of a poorly fielded ball by Andy Paz. It took some funky hops in the corner, got away from him. So just like that, it was a triple. The first run opportunity for the Phillies on third base. Trey Turner then comes up in singles, so he makes it 4-1. And so you need 2 outs now to get out of the inning, and obviously 5 outs to go in the game. And you have Schwarber and Harper due up. And obviously you have Vesia in the pen. They kind of showed him warming up, and obviously they could have gone to other guys, other left-handed pitchers. And so Dave Roberts, big decision time. What do you do here? Do you stick with Sheehan? Do you go to someone else? I honestly, in that moment, now I didn't document or anything, but I'm just telling you what I was thinking. I was thinking in my mind, stick with Sheehan because I liked this way the stuff was looking. The four-seam fastball was looking really, really electric. And sure enough, he sticks with Schwarber, even though it is lefty on righty. He strikes out Schwarber on a fastball. He fell behind in the count 2-0, but then he threw a fastball to get a strike, then a nice slider to make it 2-2, and then he just chucked a heater right by Schwarber. It actually was a hittable pitch. It was down and in, but just 98 right by Schwarber. Just Emmett Sheehan just left his, he just toughened up and just threw a heater right by him. Mano y mano, and then Harper came up, and again, Dave Roberts could have gone to the lefty, but he showed a lot of trust in Sheehan, which I think is really nice because it gave Sheehan the confidence that he can be out there in those late opportunities against the lineup's, biggest hitters, and he got Harper to fly out on a changeup right away. I knew it was an out, so I thought he should have stuck with Sheehan, and he did. Obviously, after Sheehan, the 9th inning is looming. He brings in Blake Treinen. Treinen then gives up the leadoff single to Bohm, gives up the double to Real Muto, and then the other double to Castellanos. He's immediately hooked, and then Vesia gets the first hitter out with the bunt, and then he's not able to get pinch hitter Bader, but then he does get Kepler to grind out, and then obviously Dave Roberts goes to Sasaki, and then Sasaki makes the one pitch. So when it comes to the big decisions, so in the 9th inning, the Dodgers go down in the top of the 9th. It was looking pretty clear that Treinen was coming in. I saw there were some people who were saying like they thought Sasaki was coming in. They were showing the bullpen. Treinen had been up since the 8th inning, and Sasaki, they showed him sitting down in a chair. It looked like he had his glove on and a ball in his hand, but he wasn't up or throwing it. And anytime you see that, whoever is up in the pen is who's coming up. So I'll give you my initial thoughts. Again, I didn't say this, but this is what I was thinking while the 8th inning was going on and the bottom of the 9th was looming. My first thought was, got to go to Sasaki. That's what I thought. I would go to Sasaki here to close out the game. It's a 3-run game. You had the day off from Saturday, so you've had a day of rest, and then after this game, you have another day of rest before Game 3. Sasaki didn't throw a ton of pitches in his save, and I just thought he was the best option, and he's been pounding the strike zone. That was my thought. I quickly thought to myself, I'd go to Sasaki. As the top of the ninth was going on and it was looking clear that Treinen was coming in, I was thinking to myself, okay, again, I would go with Sasaki, but I can see what Dave Roberts is doing here, because you need Blake Treinen to be able to win a World Series. You can't just trust two guys in your pen. Now, maybe as the postseason goes on and we continue to play games, it's going to morph into a pen of Sasaki, Vesia, Sheehan, Kershaw, Glasnow, and then there's other guys, Bonda, and, whoever else. Maybe the list of trust does really shrink. But in my mind, I was thinking in that inning, I see what Dave Roberts is trying to do. He's got to show that he has belief in Treinen, and he's got to get Treinen ready to go, because you need Treinen ultimately to win a World Series. You can't just, have some guys on your roster but never use them. You need guys to get big outs, because you're not always going to have these off days in between. You're going to have back-to-back games, and you're going to have to expand your trust of guys that you need. I kind of had convinced myself that it was somewhat the move to go to. Again, I'm saying, first off, that my first thought was Sasaki. So Treinen comes in. He gives up the leadoff single to Bohm. Treinen's stuff actually looks pretty good. He was throwing 96 to 97. Okay, it wasn't hit hard. Then Realmuto comes up. He immediately turns around a four-seam fastball at the top of the zone. Why Treinen is throwing more high fastballs to righties, I'm not sure. That's not something he normally does. My guess is that he was trying to get swing and miss, but normally as a sinker ball or slider, it's sinkers to righties and then sweepers, and then the four-seamers usually just to lefties. Then Castellanos comes up. So it is second and third. Now panic starts to come in. Now Castellanos is a good matchup for Treinen, because he is like a Javier Baez who just chases sliders away. So Treinen gets to 2 strikes, I believe, throws a slider that was actually a pretty decent pitch, but Castellanos just hooks it into left. At that point, Treinen becomes pretty predictable. He was ready for the slider, hooked it into left field, and then again, disastrous. He gets to second base, the 2-run score. Tommy Edman actually misses the tag. He would have had Castellanos with a good tag. So not only do the 2-run score, not only is Treinen, imploding, the tying run is in scoring position with nobody out. So immediately you're thinking, this game just got quickly turned on its head from, oh, this is getting a little scary, to, oh, we might actually blow this. And again, everyone is super confident. Sasaki, he's looked elite, and the Dodgers might go down with the ship of believing in Treinen. They make the right decision to now go to Vesia because of the matchups. Again, what kind of helped out the Dodgers was that with the Harrison Bader move, it kind of handcuffs the Phillies that they started Sosa, who is better against lefties, to face Snell. Later in the game, when Sheehan came in, they pinch hit. So now that Stott is up, they can't really pinch hit to another righty. They do have another righty on the bench. I'm blanking on his name, but utility right-handed hitter. But they needed him to run for Bader if Bader got a hit, because Bader literally can't run. So Stott comes up. They talked about this after the game. The pitching chain is going on. Run around second, no outs. Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, and Freddie Freeman are talking on the mound, and they came to the decision to run the wheel play, which is a play you run in baseball. Obviously, in baseball, there's not many plays you run like in football, but you run a play when you know that a bunt's coming, all right? And the third baseman crashes, so he is going to try to field the ball. The shortstop runs to third base and tries to beat the runner there. Sometimes you have the shortstop actually run in front of the guy on leading off second. So like the shortstop is standing in his spot, and as the pitcher gets ready to deliver the ball, he runs around the runner to kind of block his view. And then sometimes you actually back pick with the guy on second base. They didn't do that. So Mookie runs to third. Again, it worked out well in the Dodgers' favor that Scott bunted the ball hard enough to Muncy, who crashed hard. Castellanos did not get a good jump off of second base. You're supposed to really read the ball and kind of anticipate the ball being bunted down so you can take off to third. He didn't do that very well. Muncy made an incredible play, fields the ball, throws a perfect strike to Mookie, who tags at Castellanos. Unbelievable play. As soon as I was watching that, I was literally just thinking to myself, unbelievable play. That was an unbelievable play by Muncy. Ballsy play, because obviously the easiest thing you could do is pick up the ball, throw it to first, and get the out. Obviously, if the ball gets away or the throw gets away, a lot could happen, and it could be really disastrous. But an incredibly savvy play by a veteran infield, or I guess I should say not veteran infield because Mookie Betts is so new to shortstop, but just it screams the ultimate feel and just like baseball awareness that Mookie has, that a guy who's played right field throughout his career, center field, second base, shortstop, he knew in the biggest spot something that they could pull off to get an out to escape that inning. And it's probably the biggest reason they were able to escape that inning. As soon as that play happened, I said to myself, if they're able to get out of this, it's because of that incredible play. So they get that out. Then, of course, Hader now pinch hits. So it is a runner on first base with one out. So now the situation looks a lot better because a ground ball could end the game for the Dodgers. So now Vesia has to face Hader, who pinch hits. Bader singles into left field. But now Bader cannot run. So Weston Wilson, that's the guy's name I was thinking of, he comes in to run for Hader. So again, that's a guy they could have pinch hit with Stott. But they kind of needed him to run for Bader just in case he got on, which he did. So now it's first and second with two outs. But now Max Kepler is coming up, who was in the game to start against Snell. But like I said, he was the guy who starts basically because Hader couldn't, because normally he doesn't play against lefties. So again, at that point, the bench is emptied for the Phillies. So they can't go to a pinch hitter. They can't go to Weston Wilson to pinch hit, or Bader or anything like that. So now the Dodgers have another favorable matchup. Vesia, left on left. He gets Kepler to ground out, kind of like in between first and second. Another great play that was underrated. Freddie Freeman fields the ball on the run, throws to second base to get the lead runner and get the force out. The ball was hit too softly to get a double play, so now it's first and third. Two great defensive plays. They go to Sasaki, which when it happened, I was thinking to myself, please don't let this move have come too late. I didn't want to look back and say they should have just had Sasaki close the ninth. So now Trey Turner is up. They get Sasaki into the game, throws a first pitch splitter for a ball, and then he obviously gets Trey Turner to hit a ground ball to second. Tommy Edman is a former Gold Glover, fields the ball, and I don't know what happened. I think the only thing you could really kind of point to is just like nerves. When you get nervous, you kind of like clinch the ball a little too hard, hold on to it a little too long, and you just throw it into the dirt. He literally threw like a freaking slider to Freddie Freeman. Again, Freddie Freeman is just incredible savvy. Picked the ball, wasn't an easy pick, a backhand. Again, just imagine if that ball's in the dirt and Freddie Freeman doesn't pick it. We are cursing Tommy Edman's name because the Dodgers almost would have escaped, but then because of a routine throwing error, they couldn't get it. But none of that happened. They get out of the inning. Incredible defensive plays, incredible defensive minds. And another thing is this is where the Dodgers' experience really benefits them. Now, again, it's funny because Mookie Betts doesn't have the experience of playing shortstop, which just screams his ultimate baseball awareness and just ultimate baseball mind that a guy who's played right field for most of his career in the biggest moment was able to think about that and execute it. Because most guys in that moment, you get tight and you're thinking, I just need to do something to get an out. Like field the ball and throw it to first base. Don't do anything crazy. No, Mookie used his incredible mind and baseball awareness to get an out. And that is where playing in so many postseasons and so many big games comes back to benefit the Dodgers. There are young teams that can go on and win the World Series, but that is where experience helps you. And that is where not panicking, not getting tight, knowing that there's still a way to get out of this inning. We've been here before, and just executing when you need to. That play is incredibly savvy and smart that they pulled off, but is still a play that is also, you can make it look very easy. You got to just pick up the ball and throw an easy strike to Mookie. Not easy to do in those tough situations. Obviously, Tommy Edman had a ground ball hit right at him and threw a ball in the dirt to Freddie Freeman. So, it's just the experience and the calmness that they have from being in these situations really benefited them. That Muncy just knew to throw a calm strike to Mookie Betts. Same thing with Freddie Freeman fielding that ball in the hole to get the second out. So, really, it's their savviness and their grittiness that was able to, hold off a disastrous ninth inning. So the last thing to really sum up this game was that decision. Like I said, I would have gone to Sasaki. I saw what Dave Roberts was trying to do. Hopefully, from this point going forward, I think Dave Roberts has now learned to just go to Sasaki. Now, that doesn't mean Sasaki's going to pitch every single ninth inning. Because if the Dodgers have Sasaki pitch on Wednesday and then they have to play a game Thursday, then they might not use Sasaki on back-to-back days. And they obviously need to have a group of guys they can trust. We have yet to see Tanner Scott this entire postseason, which is a good thing because of how bad he was this year, but at some point you're going to have to see him pitch. Clearly, Dave Roberts has a short list of guys that he can trust. And I think that list, I wouldn't say shrunk after this game, because I think you add Sheehan to the list of guys that you could trust, but then I think you just subtracted Treinen from the list of guys that you can trust. I feel like Sheehan just kind of replaced Treinen. And I don't think ultimately you won't see Treinen pitch again this postseason, but the next time you see him pitch, it will be in a low leverage spot likely. It'll be with a big lead behind in the game, something like that. I don't think that if the Dodgers have a 1-run lead in the ninth inning on Wednesday, it should be Sasaki. So I think ultimately it was the wrong decisions by Dave Roberts, and I think that he deserves the flack for that. But I think afterwards he did exactly what you can do in that spot. Immediately get him out. Obviously the 3-batter minimum doesn't mean you can just take him out after 2 batters. But he right away, after the 3 hits, took him right out, went to Vesia to get those favorable matchups, and then went to Sasaki for the final out. Afterwards, I see what Dave Roberts was trying to do. You got to have Treinen. You got to have a trust of, a pool of guys you can trust. Treinen just didn't come through. He just, too much contact, didn't make enough pitches. The Phillies obviously seeing the ball great because there was a couple pitches that weren't even strikes. The four-seam fastball that J.T. Realmuto hit was almost out of the strike zone, and then Castellanos hit a ball that was way outside. So you can, his stuff was good, and because they hit pitches that weren't even strikes, you could chuck it up to some luck. You could chuck it up to they were just guessing right. They put together a good at-bats. Or you could chuck it up to this is a lost season for Treinen, and you can't trust him in these spots. So I think ultimately it will lead to Sasaki will be the closer. Unless, it's the ninth inning and, it's a lefty lane and they want to go to Vesia, or they stick with one of the relievers in the pen like Glasnow or Sheehan. But ultimately, crazy exciting game, really fun game. Obviously, I talked about the inning in the 7th inning where the offense came to life. It kind of ended up being a game, like I said in my last pod, where I knew Luzardo was going to strike out some guys. I knew he was going to pitch pretty well, but I ultimately thought the Dodgers were going to get base runners against him, and it was all about can they execute, can they get hit with runners in scoring position, which they have done pretty much all year for the most part. I know in the second half there were times the offense was very spotty, but they had the most 2-out runs scored in all of Major League Baseball this year, and obviously Will Smith, who had an OPS over 900 with runners in scoring position, showed up in that 7th inning and got that big hit. And then obviously the 2-out hit that Shohei provided ended up being the game-winning run because it went from a 3-0 game to a 4-0 game. So takeaways from this game, Blake Snell is absolutely dominant, and he's on a heater right now, and he's on a run right now of confidence and strikeouts and just nastiness that I think he's going to carry all the way till the end, honestly. Other things are I like the way Vesia did exactly what he could in that inning. Sasaki continues to come in and throw strikes. Treinen got bumped down for sure, if he wasn't already bumped down in the minds of a lot of people. And then a couple of final things. Snell in both of his postseason outings so far. 18 strikeouts and 13 innings pitched this year with only 2 earned runs allowed, so he's been dominant. And then another key thing for the Dodgers and why they're up 2-0. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, who I believe over combined make over $600 million in their contracts. They have been held to 2 for 21 in this series. Only 2 hits, both singles from Harper and from Trey Turner. Schwarber's been hitless. They have been tamed so far by the Dodgers pitching staff, which is obviously a massive reason as to why the Dodgers are up 2-0, because the Dodgers pitching has been outstanding so far this postseason, and it's been the same in this series. And it's probably the main reason why they're able to have this 2-0 lead. Ohtani in Game 1, and then obviously Snell in Game 2, and then really just timely hitting. You know, in this series, the Dodgers have not had the explosive offense that we saw against the Reds, but what they have done is enough offensively to win close games and to come up with big hits against some pretty good pitchers. You know, Orion Kirkring is really nasty, and they were able to get some runs off of him. Obviously, they set it up off of Luzardo that inning. And then Ohtani getting some revenge on Matt Strahm. And then obviously in Game 1, they had the big homer with Teoscar off of Strahm. So the offense has done just enough with runners in scoring position, and obviously it's backed up the pitching. So 2 really good games. Obviously, the Dodgers are up 2-0, which is massive. I said this to you guys after Game 1. The Dodgers getting that comeback win, sneaking out of Philly with a win, put them in an incredible opportunity, in an incredible position to try to really smell blood and go for the kill in the first 2 games in this series. They've done just that. 2 really good games, 2 close games, but 2 games where the Dodgers certainly played better than the Dodgers. Benefited from some bad decisions by the Phillies. Probably are regretting bunting with Stott there. Maybe not regretting, but it's one of those decisions nowadays that you see a lot with old school, new school baseball. New school baseball does not want you to bunt there. Old school baseball does. Obviously, it's just one of those things where if Stott gets the bunts down, the runner advances like most of the times, and then the Phillies tie the game, then it looks great. But when the Dodgers execute a really good wheel play there, it looks really bad for the Phillies. So maybe they regret bunting, maybe not. It is what it is. It's been an incredibly fun series so far, and here we are, 2-0 lead for the Dodgers. They now will go to L.A. on Wednesday. Yoshinobu Yamamoto will take on Aaron Nola, which is an interesting decision from the Phillies. They're not pitching Ranger Suarez. Nola did not have a good year this year for the Phillies. His ERA is over 6. And all of his metrics have been really bad. And in his career against the Phillies, he has an ERA of over 4. So he has not really pitched good against the Dodgers in his career. And then lastly, to close up the pod for you guys that I need to see get going, Max Muncy, because he'll definitely be in there against the righty. Tommy Edman, I need to see him play a little bit better. I don't know if he'll be in there on Wednesday because I know he's banged up, but a couple of defensive miscues. Obviously, he was bailed out both times, but missing that tag against Castellanos, almost throwing that ball away against on the final out, and then he had a couple of at-bats with runners on that he couldn't come through. And then Andy Paz, I need to see his at-bats get better because he has kind of struggled a lot, chasing a lot. I believe in those guys. Paz will definitely be in there. Maybe Tommy Edman is in there. But we need to see those guys at-bats get better against Aaron Nola. I think the Dodgers have a good opportunity to hit Nola really well because he has not had great numbers this year. Finally, we'll see Max Muncy get a start. He won't be on the bench against a lefty. So I really like that from the Dodgers' perspective. Maybe they get the opportunity to put up a lot of runs instead of a low-scoring game like we kind of saw the first 2 games. So I really like that. So that's going to close up, guys. I really appreciate you guys listening. A really fun game, really nerve-wracking game, especially in that in there. I felt like I was almost going to pass out. But that's what postseason baseball is all about. The Dodgers so far have really tested our, nerves in these first two games, but they came through. So even though it's really nerve-wracking in the moment, you are at least able to look back and enjoy some of those moments when you were super nervous. And some guys have really come through, like Will Smith and Teoscar, with some timely hits. And then obviously Blake Snell and Shohei and Yamamoto have been amazing on the mound. And we're going to see Yamamoto again against the Phillies on Wednesday. So I'll be back on Thursday to recap that game. Hopefully the Dodgers can complete the sweep in LA. It'd be the second year in a row that the Dodgers advance to the National League Championship at home. They did that last year against the Padres, so that would be really cool. So I'm looking forward to all that. I'm looking forward to them putting up some good at-bats and some runs against Aaron Nola and really putting a close out to this series. They have a chance to advance to the NLCS for the second year in a row. And for the, I don't know how many time in the last 13 years, a lot of times. But it's going to be really fun. So thank you guys, as always, for listening. You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick on X. And follow us on Reddit at competitive-week8715. Dodgers take a 2-0 series lead. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you at the conclusion of Game 3 on Wednesday.